Hello everyone. My name is Shahid Nazir Mohammed, and I'm going to provide an overview of this research poster presentation relating coping in young people with chronic kidney disease. And this is a retrospective review based on work that was conducted between 2010 to 2013, and this was a collaborative effort wherein the renal patient support group, the RPSG, had collaboration with the University of West of Scotland, and a youth club based in Scotland as well, known as the Royston Youth Action, and the Birmingham Children's Hospital, and also colleagues between the University of West of Scotland and a colleague based at Bucks New University in the UK as well. And now, along with this poster presentation, the way I'm going to provide an outline is provide some overview in relating to the aims of the investigation, a bit of introduction, some understanding around the methodology implemented, some aspects around the theoretical framework, some aspects around the ethics, then the interview guide and the analysis, the approach to analysis, and through the analysis and following the analysis, what the sort of themes that had been identified, and then I will highlight a few conclusions or an overall conclusion, and then implications for practice that this work had highlighted, and whilst this is a research poster presentation, I'm going to highlight also that the full works has been can be identified through searching out the literature, and was formally published in 2016 in the Journal of Renal Care, and it's titled "Coping in Young People with Chronic Kidney Disease." So there is a full reference in that regard. So I'm gonna start off by providing this overview. So the aims and investigation of this work was thus: the objective of this qualitative study was to identify coping strategies in two groups of young people aged between 12 years old and 18 years old. In one group, the young people had stages 4 to 5 chronic kidney disease, and in the second group, young people were deemed healthy. The research question was, in the main, what coping strategies do young people adopt or use to enable them to cope? Now, a bit of backdrop to this, relating to an introduction. So, chronic kidney disease in young people impacts on educational and personal development, and many psychosocial complications continue into adult life. And this reduces the chances, or can reduce the chances and probability of leading a successful work and social life. And there's work by an author, retrospectively, Renkema and team in 2011 had identified this. Clinical advances allow young people to conduct modified forms of renal replacement therapy or kidney replacement therapy in the home, in their residence, in their home, including peritoneal dialysis, which is a softer version of for example, haemodialysis treatment, which is more invasive, but also renal replacement therapy or kidney replacement therapy are in relating, as I'm sure many would know, relate to peritoneal dialysis and hemodialysis. Now, and there's also, along with that, along with these forms of renal replacement therapies or kidney replacement therapies, there's also a form of renal replacement therapy known as nocturnal hemodialysis. And in the case of chronic kidney disease, renal replacement therapy often necessitates the development of specific coping skills. Now, there's literature out there that's published under sort of more more rounded perspectives around this, around the treatment aspects or the healthcare aspects that relate to quality of life of young people. Lewis and Smith in 2010 highlight this quite well, and Lewis and team also in the same year also highlight works in this regard. Hemodialysis often challenges young people's coping strategies and actually requires continual appraisal of these strategies in times of stress. Coping with chronic kidney disease also means living with the risk of transplant rejection. And bear in mind, young people, irrespective of whether they're on a form of renal replacement therapy that is known as peritoneal dialysis or hemodialysis, having a transplant is also a form of renal replacement therapy. So basically, coping with CKD or chronic kidney disease means living with the risk that transplant rejection can occur as well, and other clinical complications. And some of those have been highlighted in the literature prospectively, but retrospectively, Nicholas and team in 2011 highlight some of that context. Now, a bit around the theoretical framework around this work that ties into the introduction as well. So the theoretical basis of this study involved something known as a phenomenological approach, and phenomenological approach is a methodology or a framework that ties in quite well to, with qualitative research. And with qualitative research, there's generally speaking, there's perhaps three or four different forms of theoretical framework, depending on what research investigators are looking to explore. Now, for this particular work, it had back in 2010 there was real novelty around this, and so the investigators, including myself, looked at this work by implementing a phenomenological approach, wherein essentially we look to sort to understand coping strategies in young people, to begin from a perspective free from hypotheses or preconceptions. So what this means is that irrespective of what on a clinical basis, on a clinical front, where pediatric nephrologists who are sort of custodians around and supporting young people with chronic kidney disease, irrespective of that, the hypothesis around this, or part of the hypothesis, was to actually also highlight or to also understand that when building part of the research framework around this, we wanted to make sure that the hypothesis was free from those sort of preconceptions that, for example, that can form a sense of sort of a bias perspective. So phenomenological methods are particularly also effective to help bring forth the experiences and real perspectives from individuals, thus challenging presumptions or assumptions. Phenomenological studies are also important because they can help um, in relating to in this context, in relating to young people with chronic kidney disease and other conditions having been carried out. There's works by Castle and team in 2007, Cura in 2012, and Heath in 2000 and team in 2015, where they look into some of these additional sort of conditions that young people are faced with. Now, using an interpretive dimension to the phenomenological approach and research also it allowed the investigative team to inform, support, and challenge aspects that around policy and action. And works around this have also been published retrospectively, at least from a sort of a policy or a guideline or a guidance framework, not so much around the sort of actioning of how care could be, how aspects of pediatric nephrology practice can be implemented a little bit sort of differently with some with a sort of a coping framework in some regard. And there's work going back going back as far as 1970, where Herschel and others, including Misor in 1985, and Mustakas, sorry, in 1994, also look at sort of an integrative sort of approach to aspects that tie into healthcare for young people. Now, a bit about the methodology around this now. This study basically collected qualitative data from two participant groups during semi-structured interviews. Now, young people with chronic kidney disease were in group 1, or were framed in group 1, and were identified by a pediatric nephrology clinical nurse, who later acted as a point of contact for participants as well. Again, as I mentioned, the participants were those who were recruited as those who fell into the chronic kidney disease group. Actually were recruited from Birmingham Children's Hospital in the UK, and then prior to the participants attending their appointments, their parents or guardians were also contacted and provided with sort of introductory information relating to the study, so the investigative team could seek consent before they formally participated. The young healthy cohort, or group 2, had received the same information, and they were recruited or approached and recruited from Royston Youth Action, the youth club based in Scotland, and basically had uh, sorry, young healthy people in group 2 had received written parental consent or understanding as well, so that the investigators could interview the participants, and recruited and supported. That line of support was actually also integrated through a youth club worker. And this the recruitment process around this particular investigation took place over 1 month, and then once there was enough intrigue around the research, the lead investigator then looked to contact different participants to confirm confirm more intently whether they wanted to get involved in interviews and actually formally participate. All participants were informed of the purpose of this study and this investigation, and that their interview data would be anonymized. Now, around this, with research investigations that where data is seeking to be collected, and perspectives from different different participants are seeking to be documented. There was an ethics application process which involved a number of documents being put forward to an ethics application a panel and committee, and with that also there was an approach where lead investigators look to ensure that the research ethics committee were provided with all the documentation, so this study and investigation could be carried out. So I'm just going to highlight just a few points on this, because generally with research it can be challenging to really understand the process, unless there's researchers out there who can provide a kind of an overview. So I'm going to just provide a basis really around the ethics, the interview guide, and then a bit around the approach to analysis or approach. So first, around the ethics. Ethical approval for interviewing young people in Group 1 was given by the National Research Ethics Committee in the UK, and it was the Southwest Committee based in the southwest of the UK, and in relating to the Birmingham Children's Hospital Research and Development Division, and this actually was formally approved in 2012, and as I mentioned in the beginning, this research took place between 2010 and 2013. Ethics approval for Group 2 participants, comprising of the healthy young people, was approved in April 2011 from the the University of the West of Scotland Research Ethics Committee. So there was two ethics committees involved, and generally the lead investigator had to have a good a kind of a knowledge base to actually approach this research from several perspectives, but ultimately the work was had ethics approval, and without the ethics approval, research cannot be the research cannot be done. So basically, this received research ethics approval, and then in line with this, there was things like there was a research flyer, excuse me, a research flyer, an introduction to the research, information sheets, consent forms. All of the documentation went in as part of the ethics application process, and I'm just going to highlight a few points relating to the interview guide. The interview guide was developed from following initial research that took place as part of this work. Excuse me, from in works that was published in a literature review by Mohammed and team. Mohammed and team in 2012, and there were two publications actually in 2012 that related to this work that prompted the investigators to develop the interview guide in following, and this included questions on living and coping, family and friends, plus coping and planning. Now, a little bit about the analysis approach. So, thematic analysis was the basis of the approach to analyzing this research. Now, in the beginning parts of this research poster presentation, I mentioned, for example, there was a phenomenological framework, a phenomenological approach relating to a theoretical framework. Now, apart from the framework, the analysis approach was implemented so that with the actual framework that was implemented, the analysis approach allows a way by way where the two actually can be integrated, so that it provides a flexible there's a flexible and useful way to actually put to actually sort of highlight the research, the findings, and the data, the qualitative research data, in a way that that when it comes to when it comes to providing context in a manner of a peer, for example, a peer review publication, or in that line and in that context, then the flow of the work and the analysis, the analysis and the results actually can tell a story as to what along with the general background that comes with the work around the basis of coping research, that the analysis also helps bring together that sort of a rich understanding or detail. So thematic analysis was implemented since it provides a flexible and useful analysis tool which can potentially provide also rich and detailed yet complex account of data. And works by Boyatzis in '98, Atride and Sterling in 2001, and there's research that was published in 2005 also highlight perspective on thematic analysis, and prospectively there are many papers that actually use and implement thematic analysis. Now I'm going to just provide an overview on the themes and findings as a basis of providing context around the results. So there were several themes. So I'm going to highlight the themes initially, and then what I'm going to do is highlight a few actual quotations, and obviously this data has all been anonymized, and in the peer review publication it's all been anonymized. So in this what I'm going to do is just read out the main themes, and then a few of the qualitative data, a few of the points related to qualitative data that was collected based on each theme. So first and foremost, there was a theme related to a theme around anticipating a challenging scenario, close relationships, coping strategies, demonstrating resilience, exercise, decision making, pastimes, peer pressure, relaxation and relief, stress triggers, and worst case scenario. And a few points on each of these so that those who are listening in on this can get a perspective. So in anticipating a challenging scenario, there was quite a few comments that interviewees had. So for example, one of the participants said to find out everything before anticipating a challenging scenario. So that came out of someone from I believe it was from the healthy cohort or group from the healthy cohort. And then another comment was I like going for big or long walks, and this helps me anticipate a challenging scenario. And then there was another comment was if I couldn't do something, I'd probably just try a different way of doing it, and then if I still couldn't do it, I'd just ask someone to help me. So those are the main sort of comments that came out of the first theme, anticipating a challenging scenario. The next one around close relationships. So probably just my parents, really. And then another comment was I often call them around here, and they were referring to a dialysis or a member of the nursing team in relating to that. And then another comment was I talk to my mum or my nan, and that's from one of the members from I believe from group 1. And another comment was and yeah, I normally talk to my mum about it sometimes, or sometimes my dad. And then a few other comments. This came from I believe from group 2. So close friends, sister and brother, and my mum. Another said she's like my best friends. She's like my best friends with the with the with the receptionist. So this relates to actually that comment. I believe, or I recall, that came from one of the participants from group 1, in relating to where a patient, a young person, when attending particular hemodialysis treatment, there's a receptionist there, and this young person would often speak to that person as a point of contact. So the next theme about in here, and it's one of the main ones. Theme 3 is coping strategies. So lying down was one. Computers was another one. Sleeping or sleep was another one. One young person said, "Yeah, I don't need. I don't tend to get annoyed at stuff. I just accept that I can't do it and ask someone to help. And then sometimes, if I'm bad enough, I would just go to sleep and then feel better when I wake up." So that was a few points under coping strategies. Then demonstrating resilience. There was one young person said, if excuse, so, yeah, sorry. One person said that under this particular theme, if it is a problem at school, I'll go and see the teachers there. Another one said that um, that if they can't do something, because you're not well enough, then it can be a problem. But knowing that is a problem, knowing that it's a problem helps the person when they were providing the understanding. They knew that there are people out there to help them, but can actually help them also become sort of resilient around the situation. So there's that understanding as well. And the next theme was about exercise or physical activity. And the one participant saying, "I'm not great at sport, but I enjoy doing it." Another said, I'm not that much of a sporty person." Another comment was, and this was on behalf of one of the participants. I believe one of the participants had their parent or guardian involved as well. And this comment was saying that she's done abseiling, canoeing, everything. And another comment was, being active is important. Another young person said, "I just play football with my friends, and stuff." And another comment was, "I think any activities can sort of can take my mind off it." And what they meant was health related concerns. Playing football, running was deemed as being quite useful or helpful. And I like swimming was another comment as well, but I can't go swimming. So this was from a participant from group 1 who, as I recall, they were on a form of renal replacement therapy, that being peritoneal dialysis. They had a Tenkov catheter lined in their abdomen, which meant that if they wanted to go swimming, they couldn't. There would be can be problematic, because basically around where the catheter is inserted in the abdomen, it's basically where if going in a swimming pool or getting that wet, it can become it can be a line of infection as well, causing something known as peritonitis. So this participant sort of knew well of around their health, and I was quite intrigued to learn about the fact that this young person, at the time of interviewing, I was intrigued by the response. And another theme was about decision making, and one young person said that I can usually talk to my mates. Another mentioned my parents about most things. And then another participant said, depending on the type of decision to be made. One said probably just my parents, really. A group of and along with that, potentially a group of 3 friends. And then another comment was, we're in the process of getting her moved. So this was on behalf of a young person in group 1 who actually had some other challenges apart from their chronic kidney disease. So this parent or guardian said, we're in the process of getting her moved to a special needs school, because there's just no understanding on her learning disability side of things, or on the renal failure. So that was context around the decision making. And then there's pastimes. One young person from group two said, attending the youth club allows me to change my group of friends. So basically, there's when this participant was helping me to get the understanding, it became it wasn't so obvious at the time, but basically young people, they switch between who they speak to and who they can, I guess, trust and find and can confide in. And so this participant from group 2 related that being at the youth club was a place, a kind of a safe space, and where the participant was able to is able to change his group of friends in that context. And he said that this is quite important, because this can help gain more perspectives. And one young person said, attending the youth club helps to communicate with someone when making decisions and something is difficult. And one young other person from group 1 had varied comments attending. Varied comments, including, I kind of like drawing and reading. I like model building as well, and astronomy. And another one said playing football, or football and FIFA. And another participant said, I like playing football. I like doing lots of sports and stuff. Another participant said, I did like running, but I can't do it now. And another participant said, when it's sunny and the kids come round. This is on behalf of one of the young people. where one of the participants said, when it's sunny and the kids come around, we don't we've got a trampoline in our back garden. And then another participant said that on behalf of one of the other participants, on behalf of the participants, sorry, that they like playing football as well. So then there's the theme around peer pressure, and a few points here that from group 2, young people sorry, as in the case of group 2, sorry, young people from the CKD group did not really report experience of peer pressure. All the young people reported having a tight group of friends that they can talk to and enjoy time with. So some of the comments included, I can usually talk to my mates and parents, and again a group of friends, and then and also in group 1, also relating to talking to health professionals like a nurse or a consultant, or just talk to my mum. So those are the main ones there under that particular theme. And then around relaxation relief, there's quite a few intriguing comments here. The youth club, so those from group 2 or group 2 said that the youth club as a place for young people are able to relax and relieve any particular tensions that they have. Another participant said that the youth club is where young people are very welcome, very much welcome, empathizing with our direct situation and circumstances. One young person said, if I think of a story and write it down, I just write whatever comes out. It usually helps me. So by writing and documenting in some regard, that can help relieve some strains as well. And then another participant says, to relax, young people said young people also said that I usually try and listen to some music, lying down and listening to music. And then another participant said, and being calm and just trying to lie down, and also counting to 10 or breathing. And then another comment was from a parent or guardian on behalf of one of the participants, said that another comment that she is independent, so she'll quite happily just go off and play in her room. And so those are the comments in relating to relaxation and relief. And then there's two more themes. I'm going to read a little bit from the theme relating to stress triggers. So one of the participants from group 1, so the CKD group, highlighted that exams are a cause a trigger for stress. Other comments included arguing with my mum a lot, and that actually came from a group from a participant in group 2. And another participant says, people telling me what to do. That's from a participant in group 2. And the young people here indicated there were a variety of causes of stress around them. One participant identified and said, if I have difficulty doing certain tasks, so for example homework or some chores, I find that this can cause me stress, and that came from a participant from group one, relating to clinical scenario, and around stress triggers. One young person said, well, if my creatinine goes up, so creatinine is a biomarker that helps clinicians to identify whether someone is falling into renal disease. It's a biomarker to determine renal function. So well, if my creatinine goes up, it can be kind of stressful then. I was like in a hospital a load of times, a load of the time, and so I missed loads of education. And one participant explained, I think mixing with her learn. So this comment comes from a parent or guardian on behalf of one of the participants, and said this person said and explained, I think mixing with her learning disabilities as well, she does have time off school, and she's in a mainstream school at present, and sometimes she's not aware of different things. She's not aware of the full consequences. So so another comment here was that I've missed quite a bit of school. So when I first got diagnosed, I missed nearly all of year 3. And this young person elaborated, I've missed days and weeks with my illness coming into hospital, and that just builds up, because then I had my GCSEs. So this young person was explaining that that they missed a lot of school, and at an important time. Um, um, and then the final theme here is around the worst case scenario. So a number of participants in both groups spoke of escaping from the situation when it became too extreme, for example. So one of the participants in group 2 said, be the big man and walk away. And another participant said, I just try and distract myself, I suppose. And another participant said that I just leave the situation. And then the young healthy people talked about removing themselves from the situation. However, many of the young people in the group also use strategies to emotionally remove themselves. So as examples, I often like call them around here. And again, from this participant from group 1, relating to, I often where they said, I often like call them around here. They were referring to dialysis staff on the unit. And then another participant says, I just forget, and said, oh, basically where they get angry or get frustrated. And so that was from a participant in group 1. And another participant also from group 1 said, I manage well in difficult situations, but then when it builds up, I get upset. I get upset about it. So those are the themes and the findings, and I'm now going to just highlight some points around in relating to a conclusion, and then implications for practice. So for young people with chronic kidney disease, coping strategies can be impaired by normal daily living activities. This in turn can reduce physical activity, the enjoyment of close friendships, and contentment with family and performance in school or work. If young people with chronic kidney disease have support to adopt more positive coping strategies, this may also enable a smoother transition from pediatric nephrology or pediatric renal care to adult renal services, where they are required to become more autonomous. So prospective studies should thus adopt a similar qualitative methodology approach, but seek broader opportunities to encourage greater participation from this population. And so the implications for practice are thus. So this study highlights some of the insights and experiences of young people with chronic kidney disease. The findings could allow professionals in pediatric nephrology to it should prompt pediatric nephrologists to develop a guideline to complement clinical practice and strengthen coping strategies for young people with chronic kidney disease. So future studies on coping should really focus on the perceptions of coping from parents as well. So once again, this work has been published, and the full citation is Mohammed Milford, so the authors, sorry, and I'm going to say them by surname. So there's Mohammed, there's Milford, there's Carson, Young, and Martin, and it's Mohammed et al. 2016, and the title of this this work, sorry, is Coping in Young People with Chronic Kidney Disease, and it was published in the Journal of Renal Care again in 2016. So I want to say thank you for listening and hearing out this sort of overview in an audio format. This work it dates back a little while, but research now is there has been a few more publications around coping, though before 2010, a lot of the research actually focused more on what's known as quality of life or quality of life research. And before, obviously, anyone knows anything about quality of life, it's important to understand how people sort of build up to a good quality of life, and part of that is well-being, and part of that is coping as well. So so this work was published on the basis it was original research, and no one actually looked at coping in pediatric from pediatric nephrology prior that moment. So thank you for listening, and I hope you've enjoyed the understanding. Thank you.